Blackmail. It's an age-old tactic to get exactly what one wants with no compromises. It gives one the ultimate power to have their way. Even the biggest, the strongest, and the richest fall prey to blackmail. Blackmail is where all the tables turn. And this is what Taliban's deal with China is. China may like to believe that the Taliban is under its control, but the Afghan terror group is not working with China. It is not listening to China, and no, it is also not cooperating with China. It is blackmailing China. China, which is so fond of trapping other countries, has now fallen in a trap itself. Now, Taliban has its unconditional loyalty and its unconditional monetary support. Hi, and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Shubhangi, and in this video, I will tell you about the massive trap that Taliban has caught China in. Let's begin. The entire world seems to think that China and the Taliban have become friends. People see an unnatural relationship thriving between the Islamist armed group called the Taliban and the communist regime of China. There is supposedly a deal between the two. The terror group will not harm Chinese projects in Afghanistan, and China will continue the inflow of money into Afghanistan, which will help the terror group in turn. China is paying a lot of money to the Taliban in return for a promise that the Taliban will not support the Afghanistan-based ETIM, which is the East Turkestan Islamic movement. This is a militant organization that seeks to fight against Chinese excesses and human rights violations in the Xinjiang province. It wants to create a separate nation by breaking apart out of China. China also wants the Taliban to deport any Uyghur Muslims found in Afghanistan. This is a part of China's strategy to avoid an armed insurgency by Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. But the Taliban seems to be exploiting China's fears with the sole aim to trap it. The East Turkestan Islamic movement, based in Afghanistan, wants to stop at nothing short of liberating Xinjiang from the clutches of the Chinese Communist Party. It envisions the formation of an independent state called East Turkestan and recognizes the fact that, much like Tibet, Xinjiang is also a territory that was annexed by China. Presently, China has dumped over 1 million Uyghur Muslims into internment camps, and it is speculated that a Taliban takeover in Afghanistan will lead to groups like the ETIM recruiting and radicalizing more Uyghur youth, many of whom are already deeply disaffected by reports of Beijing's quote-unquote vocational camps and authoritarian control of Muslim religious practices in Xinjiang. This is why China fears the ETIM and other such groups based in Afghanistan, and it believes that the Taliban could help it. China and Pakistan have already blamed the ETIM and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP, for colluding with each other to carry out a bomb blast, killing 9 Chinese engineers working on a CPEC-related dam project in Pakistan's Upper Kohistan region. So, ETIM might be looking to attack Chinese interests whenever and wherever possible. In order to avoid the rise of pro-Uyghur groups in Afghanistan amid the rise of the Taliban, China has been cooperating with the Taliban for quite some time now. However, for the terror group, the deal of not supporting ETIM and deporting Uyghur Muslims found in Afghanistan is a mere monetary agreement. For this terror group, it is a bargaining chip to secure China's assistance and money. So the big question is, for how long will the Taliban cooperate with China on the issue of the ETIM? After all, the Taliban's cooperation in not upping the ante in Xinjiang is not really a goodwill gesture on its part. It's more of a give-and-take agreement that can easily go awry at any point in time. But China is being fanciful in thinking that the Taliban would disown the ETIM. Asia Times quoted Afrasiab Khatak, a politician, intellectual, and Pashtun rights activist, as saying, "Taliban haven't done it, that is breaking away, on Al-Qaeda, Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, TTP, etc. Why would they do it on ETIM?" Farhatullah Babar, a Pakistani leftist politician and former lawmaker, also thinks on similar lines. He said, China has drawn the line, and the Taliban need to expel all terrorist groups who took shelter in the areas controlled by their forces. However, taking a cue from their previous record of breaking promises, they are unlikely to adhere to their commitments and promises. In fact, the top leadership of the Afghan terror group may be giving China the impression of cooperation, but the ground level leadership and commanders of the terror group do not really share the sentiment of breaking ties with groups like the ETIM. For China, the Afghan terror group's cooperation is critical. It has some serious Belt and Road Initiative interests rooted in Afghanistan, and Beijing aspires to reach Iranian ports through a network of BRI projects in Afghanistan. This is a part of China's strategy to avoid the Malacca dilemma and reach the Indian Ocean. Apparently, this was also a driving factor behind the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, whereby China wanted to access Pakistan's Gwadar port. However, China understands that just like the Baloch Liberation Army and the TTP have shattered its CPEC dreams, ETIM can damage China's BRI projects in Afghanistan. Moreover, China fears that ETIM may also be joining hands with the TTP, that is the Pakistani Taliban, to further damage the CPEC project by attacking Chinese interests in Pakistan. And finally, the intrusion of the ETIM militants into Xinjiang is China's biggest fear. An estimated 500 ETIM militants are presently operating in the northern and northeastern regions of Afghanistan. From here, the ETIM militants can easily enter China via the narrow Wakhan corridor and infiltrate into Xinjiang. If the Taliban starts promoting ETIM, it will resurrect an armed insurgency in Xinjiang in no time. We are talking about a full-fledged fight in Xinjiang if ETIM militants are able to enter the region. Xinjiang has experienced armed insurgency in the past, with China blaming ETIM for having orchestrated many attacks in the province. For China, stopping the ETIM militants without Taliban's support is not really possible. We are talking about the Wakhan corridor, a geographically remote location situated at an altitude between 3,000 to 4,900 meters. That is very, very high, and those borders are very, very difficult to regulate. Xinjiang is itself a mountainous, remote region, and it is not possible to monitor its borders despite the use of high-tech surveillance of Uyghur Muslims by the CCP authorities. China can never discount the possibility of infiltration into Xinjiang via the Wakhan corridor or the Central Asian nations, which makes it very, very nervous. Taliban knows this, and therefore it is practically extorting Beijing and securing China's money and support. What a blackmailing scheme. Presently, China feels that it is dealing with the Taliban, but the Taliban is simply exploiting China's compulsions. Once it is done milking China, it will reduce China into a slave of itself by holding the entire region of Xinjiang to ransom.